So for example, over the last year, we've solved some very significant problems. So one of the things being selection. So how much selection should you optimally maintain, right? It's not obvious that we need to say that we have 2 water bottles or 2 phones. So how many phones should we have? So that's problem number 1 that we actually ended up solving. Second problem is there are lots of things related to pricing. So one of the main things is elasticity-based optimization, price optimization, which is something that my team also ended up solving. We also do one more thing, which is really cool, something called a price value score. So for example, things like if you have a Reebok shoe and a Adidas shoe, both of them at 3,000 rupees each, which one would you buy? So that's another question that we also answered. Current work is into the direction of customer engagement, which I'm actually getting into quite heavily. And things like, we also do very advanced machine learning projects which involve reinforcement learning and deep learning. So this is something that because Flipkart, we ended up solving all of the low-level problems initially, I wouldn't say all, but I think most. Now we have a chance to actually explore using much more complicated algorithms, and the good thing about using algorithms at Flipkart is everything sees the light of day in terms of business objectives. So it's tech mixed with business. That's where our team sits currently. So there are a couple of teams actually tackling return rate at all levels. While it's not one single answer which is correct, what we do is we take a consensus of multiple methods to reduce the return rate. So it's a problem that I think a lot of companies face. I wouldn't call it a problem because I think every industry has this. In some sense, it's very common in lifestyle, in any e-commerce. It's something that has to be part and parcel of the business itself. But reducing it is something that we use machine learning for primarily, and then we also have on-the-ground sort of solutions which we combine along with the machine learning solutions, because I think every business needs to have a hands-on ground level implementation as well as a machine learning recommendation to suggest that here are your problems, can you help us solve it? So I think this is where Flipkart kind of succeeds, where we don't really worry about how we solve it, but we take all the possible tools and solve the problem. Certainly, I would say so, because Flipkart has always encouraged being at the forefront of technology. Imagine that we have actually come a long way since the past 5 years. It's like the boom in terms of the Indian e-commerce industry can be attributed in a large part to Flipkart as well as other companies. But the thing is that the technology side of things is rapidly evolving. They're always taking new steps to evolve. So we are at the forefront of that AI revolution. So while there is a lot of talk of how AI is being implemented, can be implemented outside, we have working solutions on AI right now being productionized and running on a daily basis. So this is where I think we kind of are executing on some of the goals that other companies might still be thinking about.
Can you tell us any of those working solutions? Is it possible?
Yeah. So some of the working solutions were, as I had outlined, on pricing, on selection, on supply chain optimization, on customer engagement, and on return rates, for example, and things like seller fraud and so on, right, which are topics of which anybody would be concerned about, are also topics which are being dealt with. Sure, I think that's a answer I can give you very generically, but I think depending on who you are, you might find different answers more suitable to you. So I think the way that the industry is moving is into R and Python mainly, so I think I would definitely encourage people to move into that. A lot of the work which is also in the big data domain is using PySpark, which is also something of a back-end tool these days, but I think all data scientists should know that as time progresses. Apart from that, I think the main focus should be on 2 things. One is on computer science, understanding algorithms really well, and the other is on statistics. When I say statistics, basic statistics, but at a very good level, at a very high level, right? I think these 2 are tools that can really make a very great data scientist, apart from the usual R and Python tools that you have out there. So I encourage people to kind of think about everything first principles, from a very fundamental approach. Sure. So going forward, it's going to be a lot of, I think a lot more of implementation that we have right now. We have a lot more advanced technology we want to implement in terms of reinforcement learning and deep learning based tools, which actually have already seen the light of day in a small sense, but we want to take it much more massively. And we want to show how machine learning can actually be utilized at that level very successfully to actually change the P&L, completely turn around the P&L if possible, right? And I think what we want to do is here augment what people are already doing. So people at Flipkart are already doing very good stuff. So we are building upon that. So we want to say technology is your other arm, or other person in the room, which is kind of augmenting your existing solutions. That's the way we think about it. Absolutely. I think one of the things I was actually concerned about when I came here was whether people would be able to kind of appreciate the complexities in the algorithms that I was going to present, because honestly my algorithms were pretty niche. They were in a particular area. But I was quite surprised to see that a number of them were very appreciative of it and asked a lot of very deep questions on the algorithm. So I'm very happy to have presented to such an audience.